bit challenging this time because it feels like I know in February things were looking pretty good, as though, I think it was in around your finances. I can't quite remember, but there looks like there's something that's coming in that's going to disrupt you here in the month of March. And again, however that resonates for you, I do feel like you're protected in the situation though, so don't get too crazy and worried about it. But I will say that it does look like there is some level of disappointment at the beginning of the month. So, in the month of March, it feels like you don't have. You feel like you're depressed. Your energy is low. Your morale is low. Something here is kind of putting you in a space of not feeling as though you're in control of something, because there's a bit of a hold back energy here with the Two of Swords next to this. So to me, this indicates that there's a bit of sorrow, feeling cut off from something, a setback, feeling like you're not able to go forward. There's some kind of a disappointment or a loss. And so, as on a side note to this, for sure concentrate on the things that you have left, not what you've lost. Take that time to kind of go through it and sort of feel the move, feel the, how do I say, be aware of your surroundings and the things that have affected you, but don't identify with it to the point that you're attaching your name to it, so to speak. Like, don't allow this to be something that you identify yourself as this low point, this low ebb, because really the point is that it's time to pick up the pieces and go forward. So there is something here that has been a bit of a disappointment, which is really kind of leaving you in a lull for the period of this month. So it almost feels like March for you is a bit of a holding pattern. So whatever this is, it needs to be resolved. It's not being resolved quickly. So I would say that it kind of took you off guard, and it's sort of a bit of a setback. It's like it's just information's just come to light in this month, and now you're like, now what do I do? So it's something along that line. And we'll kind of go through it. I'm just going through the general energy first, and then we'll kind of pull out the other cards and be more specific as to what's here. But I still feel like overall there's a setback, and that it feels like it's an emotional setback, and it feels like it's somehow affecting your finances as well. But I do feel like there is a big transformation that's taking place here, because the major arcana that's out here is the Hangman, and that's followed up by the Death card. So to me, there is a challenging time here, but it's also one of tremendous growth and learning for you to build, beyond that, to move toward that better future. Again, you're still feeling the wrath of whatever the setback was, but you're trying to gain a deeper understanding of how it all kind of took place, so that you can prepare for the changes that you need to adjust and motivate yourself to kind of move forward again here. Because once you do get out of this energy here, there will be a sense of liberation, and that you'll be able to start again. So it's kind of an awakening, but it's transformative energy here as well. And again, it does require you to take a different perspective, because it's representing a cycle of stagnancy, and you need to get clear on what it is that you are trying to embrace, or what do you need to surrender to, what do you need to kind of, what is the old belief, what is the old mindset that seems to be holding you back here, because it's something along that line. And it's about a major obstacle or a challenge that you have to overcome here. So it's like you're waiting for something to shift, but you're protected while you go through this, meaning that you will be given the resources so that there's not tremendous losses here, even though there is maybe a sense of loss, but there's a decision to be made as well. But your resources, your basic foundation is protected, meaning the information that you need will be there, for you to try to self correct or fix. So I also wanted to add here. There was something that I read recently, actually. It was actually, oh no, sorry, it was a TikTok or whatever video. Anyway, it was a fellow who's a Harvard psychiatrist. And I thought this might come into play here for you, Gemini, because this might be your very opportunity to actually take advantage of a situation and improve it. Because anyway, what it is this fellow was actually talking about uh, how every day we wake up, we're not the same person. And what he means by that is a lot of levels of procrastination, a lot of things that we put off are only going to catch up to us later. So he says that the reason why we're not consistent a lot of times and we do procrastinate is because we're always expecting the next guy that wakes up, to fix the situation and, do everything that the other 7 days of the previous person did not. So the reason why I kind of speak to it in sort of third person or whatever like that is just because he references game life as a game and more of a multiplayer game. He says that the reason we're not consistent is because the core problem is that you don't know who you are. So he references games as, you're constantly spawning into something else. And as you spawning into this new character, you look for new resources and you have to add up and add up your wares or the things that give you an advantage, and then you apply it to your next situation. So there is a problem though that if you actually catch yourself in that hedonistic mode and a check came in and you had $100 extra, did you just go and spend it? That's a hedonistic mode where you didn't really apply it to benefit the next guy who wakes up the next morning. So again, he says that the core problem is that you don't know who you are. So if this is your problem and this is your story, and again, this is a general read, but this is also just good information. But he says life is a game. And if you think of it that way, you consider yourself as someone who's constantly spawning into a new avatar. Some random person takes over your body for the next morning and then another one the next morning and so on. So he says when we actually suffer, it's because we're kind of ignorant of our true self, our true beliefs, our true values, and the things that we identify with, and it might be very unclear about what we actually want. So in getting very certain on what you want, it'll help you to realize what the end goal is, but that you're not the same person every day. And so, because that fluctuates quite a bit, you want to be able to, do whatever you can in this particular day to advance it and pass the baton on to the next fellow who you wake up to be in this, game of life. So, it says you have to understand that flow of the game and what your objective is. What are you actually trying to do at the end game? And what is it? Where is it in the game that you are? Are you in the early game, 20s, 30s? Are you at your mid game where most people need to kind of power spike something, where you use all your resources and really get the most impact out of it? But whatever it is, you have to look for your advantages and not screw that up. So when you get an advantage, you have to take advantage of it. So in other words, if you get extra time, you take advantage of that time and do your research so that you can set yourself up to pass the baton to the next person who wakes up the next day and is able to play the game with more consistency. He says, because generally, thanks Mexicano, I saw your comment. But he basically says, if, for example, just as a reference, if you're not paying attention in school or something in the early, time of your life, there's a lack of consistency there. So then you're not going to develop good study habits. It's just a reference. But then when you get to your mid game, and that's when you have significant disadvantage when you hit your 20s, right? So then what ends up happening is that disadvantage kind of puts you into a part of your life that's going to feel stuck and will suck. And so what he says basically is that when you go into the late game in your 30s, you have to sort of go through the trash of the early game and then the mid game, and then you go, oh my God, how did I get there? And so now you're at a dumping point where you need to get rid of certain habits and certain things, reinvent yourself, and then you get back into the flow of the game. So you're not playing the game of life as one person. You don't exist beyond today. So when you wake up today and you do something that you know is going to advantage or put you at an advantage for the next day, for the next person who gets up, and you pass on that baton, then you know that whatever you're doing there actually is going to matter in the grand scheme of the objective at the end of the not just at the end of the day, but the end of your specific goal that you're after. So he says you don't want to screw everything over for the tomorrow you. You want to do everything that you can in the moment, because the one thing you don't get back is time. So money you can always make the next day, but time you don't get back. And if you do get an advantage in one day, that doesn't mean you'll have that same advantage in the coming week. So you have to take advantage of those advantages, like an extra check coming in or extra time, whatever it is, and you find a way to level you up for the next day, whoever it is that you're spawning into, or your avatar for the next day. So don't screw over the tomorrow you. He says what you need to do is you actually do all the things you need to do in a day that would move you ahead in the day. So you tell yourself, it's not the you who has to do it later. It's the you right now that has to do it. So if you go into hedonistic mode and you just spend your life sort of enjoying each day, that will catch up to you. But if you spend putting in the time for the extra work now, then you can live a little more of a hedonistic lifestyle down the road. But the downside, I guess, and also the upside, is who you are today may not see the end goal. The person who's in their 40s or 50s might see that end goal and live that easier life, but you still get the chance to, and you're also reinventing your values and your choices and your belief systems change over time. So you're going to see that you actually become, each avatar adds to the whole of yourself. So anyway, what he's basically getting at there is that when you wake up each day, you get mad at the person yesterday because they didn't do what would have helped you today. So you have to live for this moment in time. It's the only moment that you get to be in charge. And when you don't have a conception for the future, then you also don't have a sense of ownership over it. And so you screw things over for the next person. And when you really think about it, your values, your choices, these are the things meaning that you're in touch with you. When you don't know who you are, it makes it harder to plan a strategy. So, and he also makes reference to people getting themselves all worked up about, oh, I can't be my best self because I don't know how to do that. And he basically says, simple answer: if you don't know it, you learn it. If you don't have the confidence for something, that is a sign that you feel insecure because you haven't learned the information that you need to build up a skill in that particular area of your life that you want to feel more secure with. Simple. What you don't have, you have to learn. Simple as that. But anyway, and then he goes on to say as well that, as you go along in the game, you could be saying, this year I learned to play a musical instrument, and then you change your mind because the person you were now has changed, because every morning you're a different person, so to speak. So, what do you do about this? He says you live a life temporarily. So, you get a chance to inhabit your body for one day. And what would your life look like if you were trying to build a consistent life? So, assuming that you are the same person every day, but we know that you're not really, because every morning you have more energy one day and the next day you may not. So that's oversimplifying, but it's just to basically say that there's a lot of fluctuation. And when you look back on your life, you realize that there was a lot of fluctuation and that you learned a lot within a 10-year period. So he says there's kind of makes a reference to bathrooms or toilets, whatever, and he makes a reference to how a lot of times public toilets are quite messy and dirty and that kind of thing. And he says, and a lot of that is because people realize, they know that they don't have to be the ones to clean it up. So it's not there's no sense of ownership. There's no sense of value for the dollar, more than I have a dollar now, but if I leave it, somewhere to earn interest, then it might have, if I left it in a bank account or in a GIC or something like that, if I had $1,000, stuck it into a GIC, for 5 years, that I would have an extra $40 or so on there. But we live in the moment of, I have a dollar, how do I spend it? So it's about, being wired to, we are wired to value things that are more immediate, rather than allowing the future to sort of shape into what would make an easier life for us down the road. So your brain says, I can do things today and enjoy myself today, but you're actually inheriting this life from someone who came before you. So you have to remember, you're the custodian for the person who comes next and follows that. So we don't exist moment to moment. It's kind of a body swap comedy is how he references it. I love that. But he says it's basically, the way to look at it is, you're only playing the game for 5 minutes at a time. So how are you going to play the game? If you don't take advantage of this moment, the next person who sits in that seat the next day then takes over, and then they're going to be upset because you did nothing to, move things along. So anyway, I'll just make one last tie up of that little scenario there. He says everything kind of gets tangled together when we connect our present day to some kind of outcome, and look for that instant gratification, but that's where we lose control. So he says, how do you play the game to improve things? This is where he makes a reference to 5 chefs in a kitchen. One person goes into the kitchen, starts things, and then leaves. The next person has to come in, try to figure out what the person was doing and how to pick it up from where the other person left off. And so, it's kind of where things are. So, what do you do for today that will help you to bring more consistency to your life? And he also, a very, very important point, says if you don't have self compassion for you, if you don't actually value you enough, if you don't love yourself enough, and if you don't give yourself enough support, you will not sacrifice for the future you. So remember that. If you don't love yourself enough, it will be hard to sacrifice for the future you because there's no consistency of you. So you need to accept that you are constantly spawning into a new person each day. And for the person that you pass the baton to, they can help to make up the things that you may have not done, but you'll also prevent suffering for yourself. And the suffering is really just due to, not valuing you, not being in touch with your values, your belief systems, but also being it's a lack of ignorance of thinking you're living forever. Okay, I'm going to get off my tangent, but I just thought he was amazing. I can't remember his name, but I'm going to, on my future videos, I will reference that again. Okay, so back into we've got the Five of Cups. So Five of Cups again. There's a situation that's really let you down because something didn't turn out. There's a bit of a setback of some sort here. It does feel like it's putting you at a bit of a crossroads here with that energy of the Two of Swords. So you're not really sure how to go forward here just yet because you are feeling very insecure. It's around your finances. You don't feel like you are stable in some way here, and it just feels like you feel a sense of lack. So this is all about a temporary, because these are not major arcana, a temporary hardship. Whether this is unemployment, whether this is something just feeling shaky around the finances, um, there's a little bit of apprehension going on here. So this could also be some kind of unexpected expense that's coming in here that could be throwing you off because it does seem to be around your stability. It's around your home front. And we are also looking at devil energies. There are a lot of toxic thoughts, toxic beliefs, something else here that you're just not allowing yourself to get past. But of course, the advice card is you need to persevere and you will get past this. You need to realize this is going to pass. It's a small obstacle, well, maybe not a small one because it is dealing with the Tower card, which is going to be a significant surprise, something that takes you off unexpected here. But when we're talking about the Hangman following that, it's almost like it puts you into a place of paralysis. So it's like the Tower card is kind of the wake up call to some kind of event that, like I said, is coming in that you weren't expecting. It's a setback, I think a financial setback that is going to throw things off here. But but overall, I feel like it's still a temporary energy for sure. But it's a moment of hurt, and there is some sense of a life lesson or something here that needs to be addressed. Um, the Hangman energy here, like I said, in March also is you're kind of unsure, like I said, of what to do because something you were expecting to maybe come in did not. You need to change your perspective to be able to move forward and to get past this obstacle, this unexpected expense. But you're feeling a bit along the lines of pressured or again, even if we're talking about something in terms of a health situation, it's like something all of a sudden hits you. It wasn't going as planned. Something kind of stopped you, and now you're having to improve something step by step. So you need to turn your life around by releasing, letting go negative beliefs. Lots of that going on there too. But it's a time of transition here at the beginning of March for you. But for sure, there is something here that's in around the finances. I feel that is going to set things off. But it's almost like whatever the setback was, whatever the big expense was, you didn't know what to do, and it's kind of confused your direction a bit here, and you need to adjust your point of view. So you are trying to figure out a way of going forward. Something disappointed you and you're trying to advance that forward, but you're in a position with the Eight of Pentacles to master the skill. Like you're actually doing the work. Eights are all about reevaluating, sorting through things, what to release, how to renew again, how to get things going. But that Eight of Pentacles still tells me that you have some things in your back pocket to sort of work with. So again, it's the focus is on re-educating yourself, or a workshop, or maybe doing something toward developing more of a skill in a particular area. But either way, it's a very hardworking energy, and I feel like that's where you're getting back to find the balance in things. So there's also an energy here that's coming in quickly that you do need to release something here, because the Eight of Cups is that story of, you need to get rid of whatever the toxicities were. That it's not that I see anything said verbally. It's like, that's why I say it looks like it's something that's making you feel incredibly insecure just in the beginning of the month. But and you're still working through it actually for the bigger part of March. So I don't want to get too, I'm not saying don't be optimistic, because there's cards of optimism here for sure, and still being protected. So meaning that your answers will come to you. Nothing is going to go without it out of your control, so long as you put in the work here, because the answers are there. But there's quick communication, coming in here as well. That's in around that Eight of Cups energy. So again, it's a little further out. So this is not going to speak to you in March. It may be trailing out um, into April, but you're leaving something behind, that disappointment. Something has kind of reached a natural conclusion here, and that just means you are no longer working with that energy, that old phase of energy, which again, maybe some of you were already had dealt with that toxic devil energy, like any of the, ego driven sort of uh, energies. But what I would say there is you're disappointed about something, but you're also having to let go of something and able to move in favor of this uh, new space in your life, because there's a lot of discontent here at the beginning of March. Because again, unexpected situation that's arisen. But you're getting some help. And I think that's where your savings grace is, because we are looking at the Six of Pentacles. That is a card of help. There is some sense of things coordinating here to balance things out, and create a little bit more equilibrium. Again, that Six of Pentacles is grounded, practical energy, so it could very well be money that's coming in for you. So maybe you made a request for a particular check or something, or you made some kind of an effort to ask for finances around something, or whatever that was. You're getting some assistance to help you get through whatever this thing is. So there's a certain level of your resources still being okay, because there is I don't want to say it's accomplishment energy, but somebody's willing to work with you or whatever, which is supportive. It's supportive energy. Okay, so again, assistance is available for whatever this situation is that's putting you into a bit of a hardship. But it's also about something coming in, again, that's kind of financially related. Maybe somebody is helping you with a loan or whatever. But so there's some kind of a token here that's exchanged. We also have the Queen of Pentacles. That's usually where your resources are being, your goals are achieved in terms of hanging on to what you currently have. Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo could also be relevant, but it's also somebody who's using her mind or his mind to create more of a practical solution to a situation. So this is where you are this is where you are just towing the line, doing things in a very slow, productive way to maintain the resources. And again, you're just trying to maintain the balance here, and you are maintaining the balance because of that temperance energy. But again, it's not great money situation. It's hanging on to what you have by getting a little bit of assistance here to sort of get you through something. So it's supportive protection either way. But I do feel like I said, that Queen of Pentacles energy is definitely, still able, you still have the upper hand of things, but it's about trying to do things in a very quiet sort of way. That's what I feel like March is for you. It's a very quiet sort of energy. Temperance is still further out. It's where things are starting to rebalance. So whatever the thing was that came in and kind of took you off guard, it takes a little bit to kind of balance it out, but there will be some change over that course of that month. And again, for some of you, it might be just a trail out a little further, but temperance is still about keeping to the path and a little bit more harmony in a situation. So could even be a certain sense of negotiation coming in here as well. But I feel like either way, it does feel like you're kind of maintaining the same in terms of, and there's cooperation um, in a situation. So there's a compromise of some sort for sure. So there might be a little bit of a loss. There's a compromise. Absolutely, I feel like there's a compromise here because of that hangman energy and a few of the other cards here. But I feel like there's also a lot of frustration going with this particular change. So, whatever this new direction is, it is something that is going to require you to get out of that victim sort of mentality and also take more of a release the pain around a setback and adjust your point of view, because there could be destructive habits around hanging around here that you need to release as well. But that could be healthy things that are like health situations that you need to address. Hangman also kind of coincides with high blood pressure issues or health um, considerations, but I feel like you're still in that space of something's holding you back. Could be feeling a little bit lonely here as well, but it's still a soul searching energy where there's a deep transformation taking place. So because it's coupled by or followed into by the death card, and of course one sort of precedes the other. So there's a huge transformation. There's a huge transition that you're going through in the month of March. And I feel like this is more of a permanent change because of the magnitude of the cards further out. You're not quite in that full energy, but it is coming. So again, this can be Scorpio that you're also uh, around, but I would say that that would be just a hint of the cards that are coming. But again, I feel like in March you immediately get this setback, which was completely, you're still in the period of trying to adjust to it. And then there's like another hit of some sort toward the end of the month. And that could be that you are in that space now of having to let go of an expectation, let go of a victim mentality. Don't cling to an old thought pattern of you not being enough or something has scared you here, but you're needing to release something and able to recreate flow again here. It's also kind of a feeling of burying your feelings as well. um, the like I said, the energy here is that there is a challenge. You need to release something and able to create balance. You're getting some assistance. This is a huge transformation that you're undergoing. Um, and I feel like you are, so maybe something, I don't see it as something necessarily just like coming to light necessarily, because usually I see a sword for that, but it just feels like there's been a tremendous disappointment in something. And there's huge compromise, negotiation, tolerance, that needs to be implemented here and able for you to get past a situation. So it's kind of a mix and match of all of those things. Show compassion to yourself, though, for sure, given whatever it is that you're having to deal with. So then we get to the card of, I'm going to slide this over, guys. Okay, so now we're into the energy of the Queen of Cups. So with the Queen of Cups and the Tower, there's something here that kind of speaks to, this could be around a person for sure. Um, I do feel like, although it doesn't really feel that way necessarily for me, but I'll read it like that if it resonates for a small number of you, whatever. But for whoever I'm more specifically speaking to, I would say that that Queen of Cups energy kind of revolves around, emotionally not feeling safe, emotionally feeling something is not quite within your control. Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio again, coming up here. But I do feel like for you, Gemini, that this is all about being more compassionate to yourself. I feel like you really need to be more comfortable with yourself and, give more to yourself emotionally, because I feel like you're feeling very isolated and alone. I feel like you're kind of emotionally feeling somewhat blocked here as well. Um, if we are talking about something impacting you in terms of health, again, can be blocked emotions, but it's also needing to get more exercise and do more in terms of your diet because it's like there's trouble spots, feed in your lymph system, digestive system backing up, things like that. But it just feels like you really need to get more flow happening here. I mean, there is some steps to this level of healing. That's what I would say if we're in that direction. The card of the Tower next to the Queen of Cups. Like I said, this is a pretty significant read because of those cards, although granted they are further out. So I suspect in April, and for some of you it might be a little further than that. This is where there's more impact to you. But in the month of March, be aware of this so that you can kind of take measures to balance it out because this could be a lot less dramatic if you are prepared for it. So again, Queen of Cups next to the Tower energy is some kind of surprising sort of element that is life changing. It feels like it's really dealing with your emotions on a very deep level. Um, it's a difficult change. It's unexpected, and it definitely affects your beliefs, your values, your sense of self, your emotional balance, your security. All of that seems to be pretty significant. So because of those areas, that's where I say you can really start to prepare for it now. And this is February, so that like strengthen up the financial resources, because you can save yourself some heartache or some financial woe, knowing that there is some kind of a significant change that's going to impact you. So what is that? How's that adage go? To be forewarned is forearmed, something like that. But anyway, it is talking about, again, a significant change or an upheaval of some sort that is going to, kind of create more emotional awareness for you. But again, it's a significant change. And I do feel like you need to prepare for it because it's a lot of these cards are further out, but it's pretty impactful. So it is a period of intense transformation and growth and change for you. Intense. It's emotionally affecting you. It is impacting you in terms of, because but know that it's followed by some positive news. But it's almost like with the moon card coming up here, like I said, this is going to be, you might be getting a hint of it and going through a whole bunch of these low emotions in this month. And then it goes further out and it's still dragging through because you're still working through it because there's a lot of major arcana here. So the moon card means that it's still something that's, you're dealing with the subconscious. It's still below the surface. It does mean that there's a little bit of it coming to light here, though. Like you're actually finding a way for something to, you're finding a certain sense of what was unclear, what was holding you back. You're starting to see that. Again, for some of you, it may not be in the month of March, but the card is already here showing that it can be for some of you because the sun is that card of enlightenment, as well as this one here for the moon, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. It does mean that there is a sense of having a little bit of knowledge coming through or a little bit of light showing that it's some of it is kind of a bit of an illusion, what you're putting yourself through as to how dark something is or how unclear it is, and you are just feeling a lot of anxiety. I don't know if it's anxiety. It feels like more depression or low kind of, that kind of thing that you're sort of struggling with. But again, there's a definite release. You need to let go of that thinking. And and of course, the best way to let go of something is just to, there's a mindfulness technique where they talk about, you identify the emotion and you say, okay, I hear this in my head. This is how I feel, but it's not who I am. And then you release it and then you get on to the next thought or the next activity. So pulling yourself out of pulling yourself out of a situation in a physical way by taking a cold shower or something also breaks that negative mindset where you're just going round and round with something. Because, like I said, when you're talking about the moon card here, and Leo could also be relevant, but maybe not so much just yet because it is a card further out. But this does talk about your life starting to open up again after this period of kind of purifying and cleansing all of this negative energy out of your life. So some of you may have gone through a lot of this, but for the most part, you are in a space of trying to, just trying to grapple with some of the areas of yourself that have not yet been resolved. So, something that you may not have dealt with is also reemerging here, and maybe because something unexpected came in that kind of put you back, threw you back emotionally, so that you didn't feel like you had control of your life again. But I feel like you are getting a sense of illumination further out, to figure out how you were derailed in some way. But again, Cancer person could be playing a prominent role here, but I feel like something's thrown you off either way. So, but you're working through that issue in a very deep way. Because, like I said, Moon is also about illusions and things coming to light, even though it's not fully captured or fully understood. But it still speaks to the truth of the reality is starting to become clear. There's a little bit of illumination in a situation, even though you're not quite fully in that energy yet. Okay, so, and again, they're kind of different kinds of light. So, when we'll go from the moon to the sun, they're both sort of kind of polar opposites in a sense. If we actually had the star in there, there'd be some healing and it'd be that trinity. But for the most part, this is just having not a true light of the situation, but you are getting a clear picture further out. So if you weren't sure about how to deal with something, I do feel like that will transmute into the sun here, and because you're facing your fears in the situation. And then that final harsh period is coming to a conclusion with the world card. So again, some of you might have been going through that period where things were really unclear and confusing and all of that, but I still feel like there's something coming in this month that's going to be like an unexpected expense. But just know, face your fears around whatever it is. Just realize that there's some things you can control, some things that you can't control. Don't identify with the things you might call failures, because there's nothing really that's a failure so much as it is information you didn't know previously, and now when you know it, you do better. So long as you are aware of what you learned and how to apply it. So it's almost like figuring out a duality, figuring out a part of something that was unknown to you. So again, you're starting to rebuild because you are so done with the energy. So it's almost like you've learned something, and this is now you're implementing that knowledge, because there's a full integration of self with the world card. And to go from that tremendous tower moment and then into the death card, and then to end up with the world card does indicate to me that you have integrated something of a lesson here to help you to, uh, you know, move forward. And of course, there is a delay in whatever it is that's promised to you here. But again, you're still working toward a level of mastery in a particular area with that Eight of Pentacles. So, very, very good cards. Even though, like I said, there's something that's going to catch you off guard, try to prepare for it financially, I would say, in the month of February here, because March is where this is going to have the biggest impact. So, there is something here that is speaking to lessons learned, completion, successfully integrating what you needed to do to be able to, meaning you're getting some assistance here. You know how to find your resources now. But this is where you're actually able to start to synthesize everything together, so that you are much more enlightened because you've gone deep. But again, don't identify with the things that are obstacles, because it's part of the game of life. Like I just spent all the half hour or whatever it was I was explaining there. Every day that you have a chance, you can't get time back. So every day that you have a chance to build on something and set things up for the future you and the next day, and then the next person passes the baton, that's when you take advantage of those immediate periods, because that's going to bring you closer to who you're really becoming. And if it's not the better version of yourself, I don't know what would be the best outcome. Sorry, my kitty is uh, uh, in the way there. Okay, so again, I feel like you've integrated a lesson here and things are starting to open up. So I did actually have the other cards down here, but I think I kind of covered that here where you felt some stuck, and there was in around these kind of just sort of fell out. So, I mean, there's clearly, some level of clarity that you're getting and information that's coming through here. Could be, again, somebody in their 20s and 30s that's coming in to assist you, or it's because there's a new idea. And of course, the Ace of Wands is definitely a new idea that's coming in going, oh, I've got a solution. You are protected. You're creating some balance here. This is entrepreneurial energy. You're moving forward with, a lot of, I don't know. This is again further out cards though, but you're moving forward with something entrepreneurial. And I do feel like you're just kind of leaving, you are releasing something. There could be something that was in around a bit of shiftiness here as well. So if there was somebody who had come in here and was in a, maybe wasn't upright with you about a situation, because the Seven of Swords is that lying, cheating card, but it's also a strategy card. So for the most part, all the cards are kind of turning around. Could have been due to you leaving behind, the the lies and the things around you that kind of scarred you in some way. But I would say there that, and you successfully integrated, how to overcome that. But like I said, the seven is all about um, kind of reordering things, but there's also that sense of having, I don't want to say it's having a whole bunch of options, because I don't know that that's really the case. But I still feel with that Seven of Swords energy, it's, somebody was, maybe not as upfront in a situation, or you've had to craft some sense of um, strategy to be able to deal with a situation and able to move it ahead to go forward here, because you are having to release something here, but it's in lieu of an entrepreneurial sort of venture here that's still in the mix. So it's about always having a plan. And again, Aquarius could also be relevant here too, but it could be that somebody maybe took advantage of you in a situation, and now you're trying to negotiate or figure out a way to deal with the underhandedness. So it's almost like there's something here where maybe somebody tried to rip you off, or maybe something was kind of sneaky um, in around a uh, entrepreneurial thing possibly. But either way, I feel like you get back on track with another idea that is helping you to get out of the situation. So again, there's almost behind the scenes activities kind of taking place. Um, Again, you have to kind of shift your reality though, for sure. And there is going to be something that you have to kind of give up in lieu of this gain of how to fix it. So even if you felt a little bit stuck, there is a decision that you have to make. You are going to figure out a solution. There's an answer that's coming in here that'll help you to clear the way. But like I said, it just feels like there's been a little bit of deception or a little bit of dishonesty around you that you're going to have to fix, and able to save yourself in some financial way where there's been something that's unstable, or again, there's a compromise that's required, but I still feel like it's help that's coming into you. But anyway, on the upside, again, still further out, so maybe not in the month of March, but there is going to be that energy of finishing up a cycle, because it's successfully integrating things around what wasn't seen before. Everything's on the table now. Now you can see it. It's really having to integrate all of that stuff. So again, that tower moment is significant enough in that it's disrupting your daily life, job, or business. It's a sudden change of some sort for sure that's in around, it's making you question your goals or your beliefs, but I still feel like overall you're being guided out of this situation. You are going through an intense period of a transformation, growth, and change. So I'm going to leave it at that. But either way, I still feel like this is a pretty good read. But again, to be what is it? Forewarned is to be foreharmed. So again, in February, plan for whatever financial unexpected thing is coming in here, because I feel like you are going to have to strategize your way out of it. Anyway, keep moving forward, never give up, and remember, you get today to live this life as an avatar. Tomorrow, you're going to be passing on the baton to the next man, and so today is the only moment you have to make the difference.